Hey everybody, welcome back to Heaven and Health. I am your host, Jojo Tavares, and I am here again with this month with Mary Lesperence Held from Mary Loves Freedom, her YouTube channel, and also maryloveslife.org. So today we're talking about your financial wellness, but this one, I was telling Mary before we started recording, it sounds adversarial, doesn't it? It's business versus God. That sounds really weird to me. So, what do you mean by that?
Well, the reason I put it that way is because we tend to see everything as sacred and secular, like they're separate, right?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, I follow God. And maybe God even led you to the gift. Well, obviously, He gave you the giftings you have and the passions you have in life, whether you're whatever you do for your livelihood, right? But or a business idea or whatever. But yet then we tend to say, okay, I take that over here. Now I'm going to go over here and do business. And I need to just do business. And we don't think about them together. We live with a God versus business mindset, right? Compartmentalizing. And we don't want to do that because Deuteronomy 8:18, remember, it's the Lord your God who gives you the ability to gain wealth. He gives you abilities to create wealth, and he wants to be a part of that. So getting a God is my CEO mindset is
ooh, I
very
like that.
important. Yeah, it's very, very important. It also takes a lot of pressure off. Now, I mean, you know, I guess it does ultimately. You still have to do the basic work, but it takes the pressure off because, a lot of the decision making then is something you pray about as far as
Right.
what to do next or what direction to go. Commit everything you do to the Lord and he'll establish your plans, right? So, um, he wants to be involved.
Awesome. Yeah. So, you talked about limiting the use of God in business and
Yeah.
God, with money, God
Yeah.
and money. And so you mentioned before, you have mentioned before, we talked about this, is we are kings and priests.
Yeah.
You don't think about that. You
Yep.
really don't. I never thought about myself that way at all. And I know we've talked about this more, off camera before, but so share with us a little bit about
Yes. Well, in the order of Melchizedek, if you look in scripture, right? Melchizedek was a king and a priest. He was also a type shadow of Christ. And so we are also to be kings and priests. Think of it like this. And you're like, well, I don't feel like a king or a priest because
that. Yeah,
priest kind of has a religious overtone to it, right? I'm not talking about that you have to be ordained, right? Here we are back to sacred and secular. You as the kings in the world bring the provision. The priests have the vision, right? So we have the spiritual mandate from God. The king aspect is what brings the provision, and we can have those together. We can be both. And in many other businesses I've been in and different people you'll hear all over the internet that talk about different things, there's a term that can be used called businessry, right? We
yeah.
actually have a businessry because our business is our ministry. It's what God's called you to do. If you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, that is the
You're
ministry
a
of
health
your
coach.
like, right? If you're a health coach, right? So, um, ministry means to serve. So where are you called to serve? In what capacity are you called to serve mankind? And then coming to the realization there's nothing wrong with you making money doing that. If you do your business according to righteous practices with the Lord, you're managing your business, you're letting Him lead you, you're, uh, you know, doing things according to the Lord's way of doing it. He can bless that financially because He wants wealth and finances to come through you so that you can make an impact in the world with that. And He doesn't want you to have just enough. He wants you to have more than enough so that you can become an abundant overflow into the world to help any number of causes that you may feel led to be in. So we have to get it in our mind that there's nothing wrong with making money. I remember years ago, I started a business and I had to do a lot of social media, like branding of myself. And I struggled because I'd been in ministry for years and I thought, gosh, people are going to think I'm chasing money instead of chasing God, right? That's what it's going to look like. Or you get that one person that comes in your inbox and says, "What happened to you? Now all you're talking about is that. You used to talk about God." Well, I still talked about God, but because I was talking about business, they saw that as a conflict with me being in ministry. And it's not. It is not at all a conflict. We absolutely can involve that should involve that, God, into everything that we do. He gives us the ability to do it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So does that mean everybody in ministry, everybody with a calling on their life should also have a full-time job?
No, not necessarily. It's whatever the Lord leads you to do. Okay, Paul was a tent maker for a while, right? I mean, maybe going and being a tent maker, he was going to meet people that he needed to lead to the Lord, right? I mean, we just don't know why God might send us where he sends us. It can have multiple purposes. It's not always just to bring you wealth. Sometimes it's to connect you into the community, to, gain favor among man, so that the Lord can use your influence in other ways. We just don't know. So, Lord, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to be in business? Is this what you desire for me? That really is ultimately where we need to be focused and just do whatever he tells you to do. So, you may have seasons where you do one particular thing and suddenly you're not feeling as passionate about it anymore and you're not sure what's going on and he may be leading you into another circle of influence, another. We have seasons, and the important thing is that you hear from the Lord, follow his leadership, his guidance, and his grace will be on your life to do whatever he calls you to do. And so people that are just doing ministry, God's provision, if that's what he wants them to do, will come for them, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I've seen that. In fact, in my own life, like I had a website for speech communication for Christian homeschoolers.
Right.
And I really felt the Lord's calling on me to do that, but it was for a time because after a while that was not working. And I kept trying to revive it. And I felt God say, no, that was then, this is now. There's something new now. And then as a health coach, I feel now this is my calling and this is what I'm supposed. So sometimes when God calls you to something, he calls you from the beginning of your life to the end of your life. That's what you're supposed to do. But other times he calls you for different things at different times.
Mhm.
Kind of like he called me to be a mom. And I'm still a mom, but I mean both my kids are adults now. So I'm not doing the same thing. So he does, he changes. So really what you said before about business versus God, that kind of squashes the limited belief that people have that
Mhm.
um, being rich is bad, being wealthy is bad, money is bad. And so, what challenge would you leave with all of us now to begin shifting our mindsets to be okay being wealthy, have money, use it as a tool for whatever God has for you?
Well, in case if you've seen any of my past recordings here with JoJo or on my YouTube, you'll realize that I'm all about getting that pen to the paper, getting connected with what's inside of you and getting it down where you can see it, because that is where you're going to have the most powerful face to face, like holding up a mirror and see what's going on. So start writing down, what do I believe about business? Okay. Um, what is my thought about involving God in my business? Am I doing what God wants me to do right now? Am I just doing what maybe I followed in the footsteps of somebody in my family and it's maybe not even what I really want to do? I know for me, the something it keeps coming up in my mind as I'm speaking here, the whole subject of like network marketing and MLM, right? So I see so much negative. There's something called a bitter root judgment. And it can happen in any area, right? If a woman is in an abusive relationship with a man, or her father was abusive, it can easily become all men are like that, right? And if you go to a church and the pastor, was dishonorable or whatever, that all pastors, right? I'm never going to church again. Um, and that can happen in business. Oh, I had a bad experience with an MLM or network marketing. All MLMs and network marketing are bad. And they're not. It's actually probably the healthiest business model that you could have. But I just want to point out too, do you notice how the enemy never, if you go to a restaurant, you have a bad experience or you have a bad meal, you might not go back to that restaurant, but you don't say, oh, I'm never going to a restaurant again.
So true.
See, it doesn't happen
No.
when there's no great long-term implication in your life. But when it comes to the church you're supposed to be at, the business you're supposed to be doing, or something, a relationship that you should be in that you want to avoid now because of one bad relationship, right? It
Right.
becomes, you can usually tell when those come in because we say always or never. But, I want to show you something real quick. So I teach on this a lot. Can y'all see that? Can you see that, Jojo?
Yes.
Okay, so you probably can't see it real close, but this is called the cash flow quadrant. And I encourage you to look up somebody named Robert Kiyosaki. He's going to give you good mindsets about business and money. Okay. So we start out, most of us are employees, and that's our mindset is that we need to
Right.
be an employee and it's changing. But, in previous generations, it was like you go to college, you get a degree, you find a job, you stay there for 30, 40 years and you retire, right? You get a pension.
Right.
Be an employee, serve somebody else's dream, exchange your time for money, and hopefully you've put away enough to have when you retire, right? So now we all need to be employees at some point. There are a lot of jobs that will always be employee jobs. We learn skills there, we make relationships there, we build there, we can be earning some income while we're pursuing our dream. But there's the next step in the quadrant is self-employed. Now, it's better because now you set your own schedule, right? You don't have to be on somebody else's clock. You actually get to do what you're passionate about. You can create your own business of whatever you want that to
Right.
be. However, you're still exchanging time for money because say, let's say you're basket weaving, okay? You can only weave so many baskets in a month.
Right.
So you are not going to be able to, you know, you're going to cap out at how much income you can bring in. And then if you decide to take a month off, you absolutely won't make any money because you're not making any baskets, right? So it's better, but you're still very limited in that. So the goal is to jump to the other side, the left side of the quadrant. At the top, the B is a business owner. That's where, yes, maybe you weave baskets and you love doing it and you're selling your own baskets and making money, but you're also training other people how to weave baskets and you're teaching them and now they're weaving baskets. So if you decide to take a month off, the business is still operating, baskets are still being made. And you now can take that income and go down to the final one, which is the investor, and invest your money so that your money can make money for you. So without being
Right.
awakened to this quadrant, we stay in the employee mindset, we stay stuck. And so the reason I teach on that when I talk about an MLM is because in most MLMs offer you're self-employed, like JoJo. Can I use your health coaching for an example? Okay, so when you're a health coach, JoJo has clients of her own, and she coaches them in their health one-on-one, right? To lose weight, get their metabolic health in order, whatever that is. But she also has coaches that have come on her team that she trains. Now, here's
Right.
the business quadrant where she teaches them how to coach clients. So, if JoJo has a month where she doesn't have any clients to coach and she wants to go away for a month, she still has a business. So, that is an example of how a lot of businesses, but I will say, I'm going to clarify you need to check the history of the companies you work with. You need to make sure they're solvent, debt free is the
Yes.
best. What are their core values? Do they have integrity? You want to be careful you're not getting caught up in something that is, because there are scams out there. There's scams in anything we do, right? So, but I just say that because it is a big area that I think a lot of believers get stuck and they're missing out maybe on a side income that could be very beneficial to their family. It could help you pay off debt faster. It could do things that can
Right.
free you up. So having the mindset about business that's healthy can really change a lot. So write down the areas that you're struggling. about business and money, that you can, I mean, business and God, that you find a conflict with, um, that I'm just going to say it. And I'm not endorsing, I don't even know, I'm not thinking of anyone in particular. There are people in ministries out there that take in a lot of money and misuse it. Okay, I'm gonna agree with that. There's also a lot of people out there with ministries that take in a lot of money that do not misuse it. Now, one of those that doesn't misuse it, they have a private jet. Why? Because the leader of that ministry goes to, 80 countries a year and does 3 conferences a week and is constantly flying, needs a place to rest between events or whatever, can't go stand in line for 2 hours in commercial airports, right? And never be able to sleep or rest, right? There can be a place, but see, our mindset with business and ministry would say, and they write books, they're making money selling their books. Why shouldn't they make money selling their books, right? Well, but they're writing about the word of God. Well, that's okay. They're writing through the gifting that God has given them, and it's okay for them to earn income there. So I don't know why all that just came to me, to throw in some examples of places that you may have some blocks that say business and ministry need to be separate, or why I don't involve God in these things, or why I don't see my business as a ministry. And again, as always,
Right.
if you would like to reach out to Mary Loves Life Ministries at gmail.com, or go to my website and reach out, I'm happy to meet with you and talk through whatever you've written down. If you're not able to figure out, why am I believing this? Let me help you work through that.
Thank you so much.
You're
I love that you're
welcome.
able to come on with me each month and share your wisdom. And this has just been really mind blowing. This one, this particular, I mean, all of them that you've been on so far have been every month, but this one I think particularly. So thank you so much. And we will
You're
see
welcome.
you.
And I actually have one thing I wrote down that I did not share. Can I throw it
Oh,
in at the end and
yeah.
close with that? All right. Here's the sum. God gives you the ability. Wisdom gives you strategy. Diligence produces increase in your business. Integrity preserves the wealth, and generosity is going to release the influence. So as you involve God in your business and it begins to grow and you have more, you can be very generous and influential in society, in the nation, in the world. And that is part of our assignment.
Yes, it is. Wow. Thank you for adding that in. That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We will see you next month.
All
And
right.
I will see all of you next week. Talk to you.